Even though you're muting yourself, please, I want you to participate. It's not meant just to be a monologue on my part. We've spent the better part of this Zman focused on the sugya of mitzvah haba ba'avera. And one could fairly ask, is this really what we signed up for? We've never really gone this far in depth for this long between the sugya of Hidur mitzvah, in which we did not cover even the practicum. I was talking about it with Ira tonight in Shul. We didn't even get to the question of how much you spend on mitzvahs. It was not a halacha shira, it's a Gemara shira. So we're talking about the conceptual elements of it. And now we've been focused a lot on mitzvah haba ba'avera. It is, as they say in the Batei Medrash I've learned in, a meaty subject. There's a lot there, a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth. Why is it so? Well, obviously, just on the surface level, because it touches on so many other sugyot that are related to the world of Nezikin, which is typically a very big area within the Batei Medrash of the world. Seder Nezikin, Seder Nashim. But more than that, the reality that mitzvah haba ba'avera causes us to confront the fault line between the ethical and the ritual, and the reality that no human being is perfect. And the question that's being bandied about, if I could philosophize it, and I won't go farther than this, but just, and then we got to get into the source because you already see there's a lot to see tonight, is, okay, after what point do we say, well, everybody's somewhat inconsistent, and so a person has merits and they have demerits. They've done good things and they've sinned. So we're all an admixture of that. That's why we can blow the shofar and then say al chet shechatanu a few days later, the slichas, etc. Start you made tshuva. We have this as a mechanism because that's the reality of humanity. Okay, but still, like, after what point do you say this is a ridiculous hypocrisy? This is totally unacceptable. On Lamed Amud Aleph, we had two limudim from Rabbi Yochanan. One was something inherent in the object that apostles it. It is not an object you can use for the mitzvah. It has a blemish or a defect that seems to inhere in the object. And then we had a second limud, also from Rabbi Yochanan, also in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. But this one was, you know why you can't use this object? Because God hates this. It's less about the object and more about the activity. That's the problem. Lamai nafka mina. What's the practical difference? What if you're the secondary person? You didn't steal it. You just got a hot item, as we would say in more modern parlance. Is this object tainted? Well, if that korban has a defect and you passed it along, sold it to a third party, who cares? You can't use it as a korban. It's too bad. It's in the object. But if the issue is maybe more, if the issue is more based in the fact that Hashem hates thievery, therefore God himself, Kiviyachol, models, when he comes to the toll booth, he pays the toll. Sire, the treasury is actually yours, so you're paying yourself. Yes, but I want people to see that you shouldn't skip the toll, yeah? So if it's the latter, as the latter model, then okay, so maybe a second party, a third party, maybe it distances you from the object. To what we opened with in the preamble just now, this little conversation, Ronnie brought up this question about, a memory from years past, let's say, of a Rebbe saying to be careful, don't get the aravot that might be stolen. Well, what if you're not the one doing the stealing? What if you bought them from someone who was selling them, on Fifth Avenue with a blanket spread out? What if it fell off the back of a truck and then they sold it to you? At what point do you say, yeah, but the object is stuck, it can't be fixed, cleansed, whatever the word is? And when do you say, no, it was about the object's a story as it related to that individual? Now, why do I bring that up tonight? I'm taking a step back. No, because when we get to the case that we're up to now, Sukka Gzula, what we're seeing in 31a is the question of what happens. Two things. One, practically, if the object was built into something else. So the board, Takanat Mirish, the Mirish is the board that's like the central line of some kind of a structure, maybe even of a sukkah. You can't just take it out. It's integral to the structure. Or maybe it's not just Takanat Mirish, the other name for it is Takanat Hashavim. Now, the nomenclature, we could spend the whole hour talking about why there are two names for the same thing. But let's say simply, Takanat Mirish means the object is built into the beam is built into the building. Takanat Hashavim is we want people who are poor, who are thieves to be able to come back from their thievery. And we don't want them to go to the poorhouse because they had to deconstruct what they built. And if they tell them they need to do that, the bar, pardon the pun, but the bar, the beam for what they have to reach up to morally in order to fix it is so high, forget it. I can't be bothered. I'm not actually going to take apart this building. So you tell me that's the only way I could do tshuva? No. So Chazal made a takana called Takanat Hashavim, which is the Takanat Hashavim is we're encouraging people, you can reach this tshuva. What's that? You just have to pay back the money. It's not excusing what the person did, that thievery is shopping by another means, right? The moral stain is still there. You take that up with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. How can you pay it back? You could pay it back financially, even if you can't compensate the person with the exact object. We're not in the sugya now beyond that. You could ask me, what about sentimental value? What about intangible elements? What about this? What about, if it's the Hope Diamond, then you built it into something. There is no other Hope Diamond. They can't buy another one. It's a one of a kind. Yeah. Those are all sugyas over there. I'm not taking the exit ramp to go off into that town, the discussion about all the ins and outs. But its application here is, okay, well, what happens if someone has stolen specifically the means of production, the objects that are going to be built into the structure of a sukkah? Is that a sukkah gezula? Knowing Takanat Hashavim exists, you can get it back, at least financially, you can give back to the owner. So if you've done that, okay, so you fixed the fact that you stole. As far as Chazal are concerned, can you fulfill the mitzvah in that sukkah, or is it a tainted object? And we talked last time, both in terms of the Yerushalmi that we saw inside and also the Meiri. The point was there's a distinction to be made between the Meiri. I'll start with him, it was easier, between that which is encasing you and that which you're physically, literally holding in your hand. Those were two separate things. One is the environment created by the sukkah, according to the Meiri. The other one was you hold the object. And so the object, if the object has the sin in it, it's not that you're in the ambiance of it, it's that you have it now in your hand. You can't fix that. Maybe that's the distinction between why there's mitzvah of aveira when it comes to a lulav and not to a sukkah. The other idea, which came up in the Yerushalmi, is a person tears on Shabbos for avelut. They're in a state of grief. So they tear their clothing. Not allowed to tear clothing on Shabbos. You violated Shabbos. Yeah, but were you mekayim the mitzvah of kriya? Yes. How could you do that? Mitzvah of aveira? No. It's a confluence. It's actually the same action, but the act of aveira is in a certain way incidental to the fact that you're also doing a mitzvah. You actually could be doing both things at the same time. The problem with mitzvah of aveira is the object itself, and it is vested in an object in some way, either the object or your relationship to the object is itself tainted. And that's what we've been showing, which I've been trying to show that distinction again and again when it comes to mitzvah haba ba'aveira. What we got up to last time was we started this foray into trying to understand it. And now we really, I would say, have all the basic building blocks on the table of mitzvah haba ba'aveira. So what we'll do now is I'll depart from the world of theory and concept, and I'll open up the practicum. So at least you can see it in the Shulchan Aruch, and there should be some knowing, if not nods, at least knowing feeling, I know why that's the way it is. Oh, okay, this does make sense. Okay, this is Shulchan Aruch. I'm from the last generation of people who got the old printing, traditional printing of hundreds of years. This is how it looked. Nowadays, you can't buy this, I don't think. No one would want to buy it. You get the laser printing. This is the one I have on my shelf behind me. So I'm from the last door before laser printed Shulchan Aruchs. So I already have the laser printed tour. So that's good, but not of the Shulchan Aruch. So Orach Chaim Tafresh Memtet Hilchot Lulav, Tafresh Memtet title, Dvarim HaPostim B'Dalad Minim, the things that nullify the four species. In the middle, that's the Shulchan Aruch. Up here is the Taz. There's the Magen Avram. There's the Gra down here on the bottom of the page. Rabbi Kiva Eger's right next to him. You got other people. Sorry, Tshuva, Levush Yisrad. Okay, here we are. Kol ha'arba haminim, psulim, begazul uveganuv. I think I had that question. I think Chuck asked me that question. Difference between burglary versus thievery in the sense of armed robbery. So gazul is robbery, ganuv is burglary. Either one. Bain, lifnei yeush, bain la'achar yeush. Either way. Either whether it's stolen in the sense of by force, stolen through burglary, whether it's before the person abandoned their ownership or whether it's after, it's puzzle, not good, not kosher. You cannot use it. But aval, gazul ukna'o below siyua hamitzvah. But if the case is that you stole it and you acquired the object. You took the lulav and you did something to it in order to acquire it completely without the help of the mitzvah. Meaning, the way that you acquired it was not the act of Baruch atah Hashem lulav. That's not the way you acquired it. That's not the kinyan. But rather, what's the case? Kigon, gaza lulav vishipahu. If you stole a lulav, a palm frond, and you shaved it, so now you changed what it looks like. You took off the extra branches and you shaved it somehow. So you sanded it, let's say. Okay. So now kosher, you would be allowed to use that. You're a thief, and that's terrible. But can you use this object now for a mitzvah? Yes, it's kosher. Why? The kanya b'shinui maseh. You have acquired it through the act of transformation that you effected on this object. So number one, the person had to have given up. Number two, you did something to change the object. If that's, and then you used it for the mitzvah after, that's actually okay. Umiyu lo yavarich alav. But you still should not make a bracha on it. But you can still be kind of the mitzvah, right? Which is fascinating. V'yesh mi she'omer delo nifsal gazl v'ganov el leganav ula gazlan atzmo aval achareha, kosher. There are those who hold that it is actually not puzzle for others, only for the actual robber or burglar. But other people, it's kosher. Bishar haminim chutz mi, with the other species, chutz miyom, so bishar hayamim, on the other days. Chutz miyom, follow with your eyes, sorry to make you dizzy, next page. Miyom harishon. Okay, hope everyone can see. Yeah? Chutz miyom harishon for the first day. Why? You know why? Because the Torah says, ulakachtem lachem b'yom harishon, has to belong to you. So therefore, the first day, it can't work, right? But after that, some say, Shulchan quotes it that way, some say that really it's permissible, even if you stole it, if other people use it. Again, why? Because that's a shinui reshut. You gave it over to someone else. Umishum zeh, writes the Ramah, yesh li zoyer, shlo yikatzetz ha-Yisrael be'atzmo, echad me'arba haminim shebalulav, l'tzorach lulavo. Ronnie, this is for you. Your rabbi took it straight from his rabbi, all the way back to Rabbi Moshe Israelish. You have it right here, right? Be careful. A Jew should not be the one to cut for the daled minim, for the sake of the lulav. Dikarka and exel, because land cannot be stolen. Ustam akum, and those who are idolaters, there goes le karkahem. They must have stolen it from someone else. They don't have a cheskat kashrut that they didn't steal the land. V'yavo b'gzela liyado, and it will come to one's hand through thievery. Ella yiktzetsenu akum v'yikne mehem. You should rather have the Oved Kochavim be the one to cut it. You'll buy it off them. So says it's Shuvat HaRashba, the Gora Sheiri, and Self-Perak will have a Guzzle. Ve'ein chiluk b'zeh bein Eretz Yisrael chutz la'aretz. Doesn't matter if it's in Israel or if it's in chutz la'aretz. Lulav she'agdo akum v'asao kasher kemo sukat akum. Okay, well, that's not for now, but a non-Jew prepared your four species. It's fine. You could use it on Yontif, just like a sukkah built by a non-Jew. No time to get into it now. That's not our sugya. But one last piece. V'chein Shaul b'yom rishon mishum deve'inan lachem. Also, what can't you use? If it's Shaul, it's borrowed on the first day because it has to be lachem, and it's not going to be lachem. Yeah, that's the first slide here. To sum up, we have here a number of different opinions that are mentioned, and it sounds like it's saying, well, it's true that if you stole it, then you can't use it before or after Yehush. But if you stole it and you did something to make a kinyan on it, and that kinyan was not actually at the moment of doing the mitzvah, but it was Erev Yontif or something, so then it's really yours. You're a thief. Yeah. So you have bad things that you did, and you have good things that you do. But that's not what, according to Shulchan Arukh, based on among other sources, seems to be what Tosafot say and the like. It is yours. And you get to keep it. And you have to pay them the money. You did a terrible thing, but it's no longer the object of that individual you took it from because you changed it. Nonetheless, don't make a bracha on it. Now, as it happens, it's not clear that practically, this is really the halacha. It sounds like practically, we say we have to be choshes for all opinions. So we maintain that one should not use a lulav hagazul. However, and this is to Ronnie's point, if what you said when the shir was starting, if there was a way that someone else did it and then they made a kinyan on it, and now you bought it off them. So what's it to you? It's not your fault that they did something with it, which sounds, at least as far as the give me a second, Eddie. As far as the Yesh Misha Omer is concerned, in the Shulchan Aruch, sounds like you'd be allowed to use it, right? Because it's not you, it's someone else. It's only the individual that did the stealing that can't use it. It's the Avankari case from 30b onto 31a. But you see, even in the Shulchan Aruch, it's giving you like different opinions. The Magen Avram basically seems to say, don't go by the Yesh Misha Omer, but rather assume l'chumra, that if something is mitzvah avera, you really shouldn't be using it, even on other days. Eddie, go ahead.
A question, I do too.
Wait, Eddie had his hand up. Riga. Eddie, go ahead.
Okay.
Eddie, and then Judah, go.
So back to something you kind of alluded to before. If you were buying and you weren't sure that it was stolen, like the guy who set out his thing on the street, would you to feel better about it or make it more kosher? Would you take it and make some change to it before you use it? So you're
right. So yes, but when you buy it off that person, that's a shinui right there. It's called a shinui reshut. You changed ownership, right?
Already.
So when they cut it, that caused the owner of the land to be miyash. They're ever going to see it again. That's their yeyush. But you need another step, which is the kinyan step, when you buy it off them. That's why Rav Huna said to the Avankari, bottom of 30a, you're going to sell the hadassim. You don't cut them off. You buy them from someone else. So they cut it. It's on them. They're going to sell it to you. And then when you own it and you're going to sell it to someone else, then that's going to be okay. Remember?
That takes care of it.
Yeah. Judah, still a question?
I have a question. Section that you just read starts with lulav shu gazul veganuv. Now, our Mishnah does not say that.
I know we didn't have time to see all of that inside, but like Chuck had asked me at some point, Chuck Cohen asked me, well, what about ganuv? Is that going to be different? In the end, the Shulchan Aruch says it's not. I didn't have time to go into why it's different. It is actually really different, but the practicum is the same. The reason why it's different is because when someone ganef something with someone else, the victim doesn't know.
So it's a matter of yi'ush.
Yeah. So practically we hold, okay, whether it's stolen, burglary, like robbery or burglary, doesn't matter. That's still, you can't use it. But if the thief did something to be kona it with a shinoi, it doesn't mean they're off the hook from paying the guy back, right? The victim still has to be compensated. But what it does mean is that the individual who now has it, if they sell it to someone else, that guy can use it for his mitzvah. Seems. By the by, I mean, our assumption is not that people who are selling lulav and metrogim are thieves, God forbid. Yeah, that's not what we're trying to say. We're just saying that because land can't be stolen and you don't know where the supplier came from, it's possible that someone along the line, someone did something where they thought, as Ronnie pointed out, it's like public land or something, but then it wasn't public land. So now you took it from someone. That's not allowed. So now, okay, we got to fix it. How do you fix it? You're making a change to it.
Why
it's not clear, by the way, that putting it into the basket, the wicker basket, that's enough of a shinoi, because that's what's called a shinoi chose lebriato. Remember, this was considered on 30b. The Gemara was going back and forth. What if shinoi shame? You change it. Now this thing is called not a hadas, but it's called a hoshana as a bundle. Not clear that's good enough. What about putting it in the eged? You're tying it in. Yeah, but you can take it back out. So it's not really a transformation. Yeah. But shipo is where you sanded it or something. You made it smooth. Oh, so that's already a change physically on the object. And that's different. Okay. Next slide. Come with me to the next slide. Page 3.
Before you go on, Rabbi,
please go ahead.
Why every day but the first day? Why
first
not on
day? Okay, remember, first day has a technical requirement, lachem. The question only comes up after the first day, because on the first day, lachem means has to be owned by you, not stolen, not borrowed, not even borrowed. So borrowed is with the consent of the person you took it from, but they retain their ownership. And stealing, at least at the beginning of the process of stealing, it's taking it from someone else without their acquiescence, and they have not yet necessarily relinquished ownership.
that's
I can't hear you. Like, you speak up.
Someone steals lulav. Someone, you hear me now?
Yeah.
Someone steals a lulav, makes a shinui. And not only does he steal it, he takes it out of the balabayit's house and brings it into his own house. Okay?
Then it's his. That if he makes a shinui on the object, it's his. That's not gazul anymore.
Why isn't that working on the first thing as well as the other six?
I'm sorry. Did you move away? I don't hear you again.
I don't know why. Why is that considered not good for the first day, but good for the other six? He has acquired. He's made a kinyan. He's made a shinui reshut.
Right. If there's a shinui, if there's yeush and shinui reshut, then it's not with the status of gazul anymore. This object is no longer gazul. The chiddush of mitzvah baba avera is you think you got rid of this taint. Guess what? Mitzvah baba avera says it's not out. It's not gone. Days 2 through 7.
But Rabbi, I'm coming back. I don't understand the Shulchan Arukh. Or you told us, and I forgot. Why is it? He was a guy. He took a gun, held the guy up.
Yeah.
Took lulav home in out of state.
Right.
And did a shinui, to a physical change to it. And the poor man who was held up was miyayesh up and down. Okay.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that he was Machal Yom Tov by making the Shinui and Machal Yom Tov by robbing, but we look at, we discard that or disregard that. Why isn't that good? He made a kinyan. Why is it not lachem? Why is it good on the other 6 days and not on the first day?
Okay. I hear what you're saying. Okay. So look.
Make it better. Erev Yom Tov. Erev Yom Tov.
Yeah.
He held the guy balabayit up. Okay.
Right. Right.
And he shaved it or sanded it, whatever. He made a shinui.
Right.
Why is that good for the first day, but is good for the other 6?
Okay. So to jump back, it is actually if the guy steals it on a day before Yontif, 2 days before Yontif, he steals it, and there was Yeush, and you see that's why I put the word in blue. He made a kinyan, but when he made the kinyan, the act of acquisition was not associated with the performance of the mitzvah itself. It was prior to it. Then in that case, it would be kosher to be used in the mitzvah.
For the first day also?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's what I didn't know.
Yeah, but some say that the guzzle and the ganuv that we're talking about up here is only for the ganuv and the gazlan themselves. But for other people, it would be kosher for them to use on other days. But those other people could not use it, chutz miyom, on the next page, miyom harishon, because it's not lachem. But the next day, whatever its status, it's a mitzvah baba avera for the thief. He didn't make a kinyan. Let's say the guy did make a kinyan, right? The yesh omer lo nifsal gazul v'ganuv el ganav u'gazlan atzmo. For only for the thief. That's going back to line number 1. Any of the 4 species are puzzle if they're stolen in either case, however they're stolen, whether it's before yesh or after yesh. But caveat 1, gazul, if he stole it and he changed it somehow, so then it would be his. He could use it even on the first day. The Shulchan throws in, should be machmir, you really should make a, but the guy should make a brach on that. Mister, you're a thief. You stole a lulav and you tried to disguise it. You're thinking about brachas? What a contradiction. What a contradiction in terms of what a hypocrite. You're clearing, you're chayv the bracha. Okay, but miyu lo yavarach. We see how complicated the human psyche is. You know, there's a famous line. It's not in the Gemara, but it's in the Ein Yaakov and Masachet Bracha that everyone likes to quote, that a thief, before he steals, says a prayer that Hashem should help him to do well on his endeavor. That's such a contradiction in terms. Yeah, agreed. So, oh yeah, by the way, you should make a bracha. But some hold, right? Some maintain that actually, in point of fact, that the reality of this a psul for the if it's stolen in either case, kind of stolen, whichever way, right, is only for the individual who did the actual act. But for other people, it would be kosher. This is talking about a case where there was no kinyan done. Last line of Shulchan is there was no kinyan. And therefore, it actually still belongs to the original owner, except that the original owner said, forget it, I'll never see it again. But the thief didn't do any make any kinyan on it. Now someone else wants to use it the next day. Second day, third day. Why can't that person use it the first day if there was no act of kinyan done by the Gazlan? The answer is because lachem, but not from the Gazel. On other days, it seems like we are saying, the Yesh Misha Omer is saying that it would be permissible because you're not actually the thief. Avala cherim kosher. B'shar yamim chutz miyom harishon. Because on the first day, it's lachem. This is making sense?
Thank you.
Okay. I hope that clarifies. Yeah, go ahead.
There was a small distinction between Eretz Israel and Chutz La'aretz.
In the end, it was wiped away. The Ramah quotes from the Rashba. There's no distinction. The distinction was supposed to be that in Eretz Israel, the land almost certainly belonged to a Jew at some point. How did anyone who's not Jewish get acquisition of it? They stole it. The Romans stole it. The Byzantine era had different people coming and going, etc., etc. The Crusaders came. They stole it. Nobody was ever miyayish on it. But the Rashba said, well, the truth is, it would apply even in the Or Zarutz, it applies even in Chutz La'aretz. That in Chutz La'aretz also, if it's a place that Jews live, a neighborhood of Jewish people, and then there's a non-Jewish person who happens to have all the Haravot and Hadassim growing in their field, there's a possibility that they stole it from a Jew, and that the Jew never gave up, and now no one will be Makayim the mitzvah because it's a stolen item. That's the Or Zarut's opinion. Not everybody agreed with that, by the way.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So here, if you look at Chutzah, it's Kilomar Afapi Shisham Akarkaot Gezulim. This is the Taz, the Magen Avraham, excuse me. Me'akum Afilu Hachi Aser. Even though it might have been stolen from a non-Jewish person, doesn't matter. It's still forbidden. Here, see? Even though the land might have belonged to a non-Jew, it's not. You see, the psak in the halacha is in Chutz La'aretz. It's even if it belonged to a non-Jew, but it was stolen from a non-Jew, it's also stealing. That's the Magen Avraham right here. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on a little bit. Yeah. Try to get to another layer of this onion. Unpack it if we can. Hold on. What do I want to show you here? Not this. Not this. We're not going to have time to see all this inside. Too bad. Okay. I'll cut to the chase. You remember that Rabbi Yochanan holds there's such a thing as mitzvah haba ba'avera. That's the Gemara 30a. And Shmuel holds there's no such thing as mitzvah haba ba'avera. Well, in Hilchata, Kaimelan Rabbi Yochanan, the itle time the mitzvah haba ba'avera. In the end, the halacha follows Rabbi Yochanan, as he has the rationale, which is the mitzvah haba ba'avera, explaining why you can't use it. The afagav the Shmuel Poligale. Even though Shmuel disagrees with Rabbi Yochanan, Shmuel Rabbi Yochanan alach Rabbi Yochanan. There's a principle in Shas. There's a machlok between Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan. The halacha follows Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Ami Nami Kai Ka Rabbi Yochanan. He also holds like Rabbi Yochanan. Besugi de lakama de avankari. But when you keep going into Gemara, there's a case of avankari. There's this case of Sukka Gzula on 31a. That's why I'm bringing this up. I'm not jumping back. It's just now we see all the base building. Oh, there were two other sugyas, and what happened there? The Riata lichora kishmuel. They seem to follow Shmuel. Why? Delo idkeru ba din mitzvah ba ba'avera. Not in the case of avankari. Rav Huna didn't say, you know why you have to make sure someone else gets it. He didn't say it was because of mitzvah ba ba'avera. He left it out. Just didn't apply it. Why not? Kima'ayinat bay aliba de Rabbi Yochanan nami azla kedaba'inan lemei markaman. When you look in it, you can find out when you keep going in the sugya. You realize it can also follow the path of Rav Yochanan, that there is in fact mitzvah ba'avera at work, even though Rav Huna didn't cite it. But it's interesting, the Gemara didn't say, oh, Rav Yochanan holds there's such a thing as mitzvah ba'avera. Shmuel says no such thing as mitzvah ba'avera, either at all or at least in this context. So how come there's a case right after it that should have been, and here's a case that proves that mitzvah ba'avera was a factor for Rav Huna, didn't say those words. The Ritva says, yeah, it's in there. That's the gist of it. Vesugya nami bekule Talmudik Rav Yochanan, because generally in Shas it follows Rabbi Yochanan, And even though Rav, this is really Rav Ashi, if you look in the footnotes, Mataritz Matnina Liba de Shmuel, the Terutza Kishmuel Ata. When you look on page 30a, suddenly it mentions Rav Ashi. Remember, Ravina and Rav Ashi are the last two. They're like they call them the redactors of the Gemara. They're not really the redactors, but they're Mesaimim of the Amoraim, of that generation of sages of the Talmud. Then there were groups of editors. Rabbanan Sfora came after. But Rav Ashi sounds like he holds like Shmuel. Actually says so on page 30a. He's quoted on, where am I? He's somewhere here. I lost it. Where are we? Where it says Rava Amar. Was that it? Now I've lost it. That's not a good sign. No, that's Rava right there. I thought Rav Ashi was quoted right here. Did I skip him? Rav Ami Yavish Pasuk and Shmuel very applicable to Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Shmuel, Shalom Yom Tov Rishon, Yom Tov Sheni Mutter, Nami V'Gazel, Mati Rav Nachman. Yeah, where's Rav Ashi?
I don't see Rav Ashi here.
Huh? Odd. Oh, I thought it was interesting. It says right here that actually in the Dikduke Sofrim it says that it should say Rav Ashi's name in here, that he's also a speaker, and that's what most of the Rishonim quote. Interesting, but I thought it was here. I take it back. I guess it's not in our Vilna Shas. Thanks, Ara. Okay, the editor of the Ritva, Mosad Rav Kook, says that the Ritva is referencing the fact that their manuscript said, he was just doing that to show Shmuel's position. The lav disvar like it's not that he holds that way. Hilkach kamel and hagazul pasul kol shiva. Therefore, something that is stolen is possible for all 7 days. Va'afil b'gvul, even outside of the Beit Hamikdash. Mishum mitzvah haba ba'avera. Belulav hayavesh pasul kol shiva b'mikdash. Okay, that he just added on belulav hayavesh. That's not our bag. But watch what happens here. When Rav Huna, Malu Rav Huna, Lahanu Avankri spoke to the peddlers, the merchants. Perish Yisraelim shlochim hadasim agoyim. They're taking it, the hadasim, the myrtle branches from the non-Jews. Umachim Yisrael, they're going to sell to fellow Jews. Kisavintu asim in agoyim ligzizu inu the litvu lechu. Let the non-Jews cut it and give it to you. My time, why? Stam goyim gazlani ar ata ninu. The non-Jews in Eretz Yisrael are thought to be thieves. The karka and exiled, and the land is never truly stolen. So, okay, therefore, they're the ones who are going to do it. When they cut it, they give it to you, the sellers. That's the Shini Rashut at Yehush at the moment of the cutting by the owners. Then it goes over to you when you buy it from them. So that's Shini Rashut.
I thought that the problem was not for the one who was selling lulavim; it was the problem for the one who wanted to use it himself.
Yeah, but but the Ritva is quoting the early part of the Gemara where that's what the Gemara thought.
Okay.
But it goes on to say that, right? But this is not the early part of the Gemara. But I came for this where I put the double line. Perush, the kaven the kana mikmei mitzvah lachem karina bay. Larry, to your point from before, at least here's what we have. And that's what Shulchan Aruch writes. Since they will have acquired the hadassim before the performance of the mitzvah, then that object is now called lachem. V'leika nami mishum mitzvah baba aveira. And this is not also part of the mitzvah baba aveira discussion. Why? The act of mitzvah is not abetting or aiding the acquisition. Vita afilik Rabbi Yochanan. Even according to Rabbi Yochanan, who holds of mitzvah baba aveira, it would not apply in this case. And upon this, do we rely today, says the Ritva, right? In Seville. That's what he's saying. We rely on this today to buy the lulav and the dalad minim from non-Jews. When the non-Jewish person, Art, now I come to your point, yeah? When the non-Jewish person cut it, so that was the yeush of the owner. And now, Shina Rishut, Rishut done, when we, the Jewish people, buy it off the non-Jews, so that's the Shina Rishut. Even if we're the ones using it, we're not the middlemen, but we're actually going to be the end users. In other words, what the Ritva writes here, which is along the lines of what Tosafot had said, is that in order for mitzvah of Avera actually to fall on an object, the act of mitzvah is actually bound up with the moment that the Avera is being cemented, because the Avera is finalized in your attempt to make a kinyan on this tainted, stolen object. So when you go back, the idea was, and that's what that's what the long Tosafot we saw on 30a, where Tosafot said the act of saying, I am taking this sheep which I stole, and I want to make this a korban, I'm makdish it. The fact that it came out of your mouth, I'm makdish it as a korban, which is the shinui Hashem. Now this object is no longer called chulin, now it's called hekdesh, it belongs to the treasury of the temple. That's a mitzvah ba'avera. And so it was also the case with the lulav. The person would have, let's say, cut the palm branch off, and they take the palm branch and they say, and now I call this a Hoshana. On Yontif morning, you take it, you make a bracha on it. That's what you're doing. Wait a second. That's the exact moment that you're trying to accomplish the mitzvah, not Erev Yontif, but let's say you did this on Yontif. You'll tell me, well, I cut something on Yontif. That's an Avera right there. Yeah, true. But it's like you're tearing your clothing on Shabbos. You're not allowed to do that. Yeah, but okay, one and the other. That's if it's on your property. You cut off the lulav and you made a bracha on it. Sin in one category, mitzvah kiyum in the other category. But if it belonged to somebody else, now that object is called a mitzvah haba ba'avera. You attain that object in the exact moment that you're trying to perform the mitzvah. That's the taint.
Rabbi?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you clarify one point? Are you saying that if a nachri cuts down, the hadassim or a ravod, you as a Jew, and you purchase it, whatever it is from you can't purchase it from a nachri?
No. Your purchasing of it from the nachri makes it completely yours, even if it was stolen by the nachri. It's an if the nachri wasn't careful. And
I just wanted, yeah.
Right? Either on purpose or by mistake, by the way.
I got it.
But functionally, this object is a stolen object, right? The act of cutting it was causing the yeush by the owners. But in order for it to be yours for lachem purposes, you need to buy it off that non-Jewish person. What would happen?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Gave it to you as a gift? You could still argue that's a shinei reshut because they say, I give this over to you. It is yours now. Okay, so the shinei reshut, when it came into your hand, so that is good enough. The point is, unless it's the backyard on Enfield, that without mentioning names, I don't want to get anyone in trouble. There was a member of our shul who had a house there. Everyone recalls. So people would go, you cut the hadas, the aravot. That was a community service. That's not stolen. It belonged to him.
Right.
But let's say it was a field, a park somewhere. Oh, there's 1 million aravot. No one's using them. Hey, I'll just take it. Well, wait a second. What if that belongs to somebody? Okay, that could be stealing. You can't do that. You can't just use it. But if the non-Jewish gardener who works for the municipality, for the town, went in there and cut them, and there's a big pile, and say, hey, can I buy that off you? Yeah, take it for free. You pick it up, that's a shinei reshut. That's okay.
But
Rabbi,
it's still isn't it still an avera for a non-Jew who has the Sheva mitzvah b'nei Noach?
For
you can't steal.
For sure. But they don't have a mitzvah to be mekayim the lulav, yeah? The point is not them. Again, I forgive me, George, 100% right. Nothing that I'm saying here is to justify. It's like, well, who cares if they steal? No, that's wrong. It's ethically wrong, and it's a sin. And yes, Shov Mitzvah no, Gezel is one of the things not allowed to do. Granted, all of those things are granted. But the question is, you're a Jew, and you have to get your Dalet Minim together. And there's some non-Jewish gardener who's got a truck filled with hadassim. You're going to take that. You're going to say, can I buy some off you? He's going to sell it to you, whatever. So what if they really had stolen it previously? Is this object tainted forever? Is it like there's a disqualifying stamp on this object because someone stole it once? No, the answer is that it can move away from being a stolen item forever when it becomes yours because you transferred ownership.
Gotcha.
Did I lose you or did I got you still have you there, George? Does that
yes.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone else wanted to say something. I don't know who it was because the two people talked at the same time.
Well, I have a question, which
Please.
is for something to be able to be in the category of losing that taint through acquisition. I guess I'm not sure I understand why. Is it just because it can be purchased independently? Meaning if it's the wood that's in the sukkah, that can't be purchased independently, so that maintains its taint?
No. Well, the wood in the sukkah is going to be the next case. We're not up to that yet.
Okay, but I guess I'm not sure why this stolen hadassim
Yeah.
is able to remove the taint by the shinoi of purchase versus retaining by something else which may retain the taint even if you buy it.
Okay. The short answer is, if there is a short answer, our
Did I miss-
sugya, here it is. Our sugya is focused on the question of, do objects ever attain a taint that is indelible in them? And the answer is, there is such a case, but it's actually more limited than you would imagine.
Okay.
That otherwise, it's about a grievous sin of thievery by person A, but person B is not locked away from using that object just because person A did the wrong thing. So if person B rather can do something to remove a not indelible, but a delible stain. This object is a stolen object in person A's hand, but it moves to person B. It no longer contains that taint.
Okay.
But if the exact moment of attempting to perform the mitzvah was also the exact moment that you
I
acquired the
understood.
object,
That I understand.
that's where the taint is double. That's where,
Right.
so to speak, the Torah is saying, whoa, no way.
Right.
This object is bad. You can never.
Right. But what I thought I heard you say earlier is that there are some objects that, in spite of any kind of shinoi, still retain their taint. And that's a different sugya.
No, that's if there was that case does exist. That case is, as I gave you the example, a guy steals a sheep and he says, I want to make this sheep hekdesh. I'm giving it as a korban. I'm a generous benefactor to the Beit HaMikdash. I'm giving 500 sheep, and among them is a stolen sheep. And it has a tag, and they realize that's a stolen sheep, mister. Now, the guy says, oh, man. So what are they going to do with that sheep? Why can't he sell that sheep to some other guy? Answer, because that's a mitzvah. That object, according to Rabbi Yochanan at least, that's a mitzvah baba avera.
Okay.
That cannot be. That's what's indelible, because that it acquired the status of hekdesh at the exact moment that the ganef is acquiring it through a shinui hashem by changing its status from what it was when he stole it.
Okie dokie.
But the two have to be at exactly the same instant. That's
okay.
the point. And if they're not at the same instant, okay, so then it's an object, it's stolen, but it could be acquired by the thief. And now we come to the Sukka case. This was all the lead up to the Sukka case. I won't go past 9 o'clock, but there's no way we can stop now, because otherwise the activation energy next week is going to take us 35 minutes just to get back to this point. Right, Bli Neder. Everything I say is Bli Neder. I said already at the Taras Nadar in the beginning, nothing I say really means anything. No, I didn't mean it. That's wrong. So, our case that we dealt with, what it was last week, 2 weeks ago, now we're up to the Sukka case. The Sukka case we saw already is different because you didn't actually pick up an object, except, as was pointed out, if that object was on a flatbed truck or on a ship, then the object of the sukkah could physically be stolen as an object. But if it's on the ground, the asikna, says the Ritva, the pligi b'shetakav v'chaver v'hotzio misukato must be that the argument is you threw someone else out of their own sukkah. Rabbi Eliezer holds in that case, karka ein an exelet, and sukkah she'ulahi, it's a borrowed sukkah. Remember Rabbi Eliezer, if you want to jump back while I'm speaking, it's on page 27b. We had Rabbi 27a and b. Rabbi Eliezer holding, you have to be in your sukkah. It's your sukkah the whole time. And you can't travel, you can't go to someone else, can't eat over at someone's house. I said that then, I'll say again, it's like COVID. Everyone's in their own house, you can't go visit anybody, yeah? The Rabbanan, the majority opinion, Savri, Adam Yotze Sukkah She'ula. You can be Yotze in a borrowed sukkah. Tosafot asked the question, wait a second, if it's the case that someone threw someone else out of their sukkah, isn't that a mitzvah baba avera? What did Tosafot answer? The Ritva quotes Tosafot, he came after. So he quotes, what's the answer? We do not say mitzvah baba avera unless it's an object that has ritzui. You're trying to find favor with Hashem, such as a korban or a shofar. You're blowing shofar. It's a form of tefillah, which is ritzui. Ritzui means finding favor in God's eyes, basically. through prayer, through supplication. So korban's like that, a shofar's like that, and a lulav's like that because you shake it. Aval b'sukkah she'ein ba ritzui leika mishum mitzvah b'avera. That is not in the category of mitzvah b'avera because there's no ritzui there. That's what Tosafot had answered. But the Ritva disagrees. V'lo, I don't think that makes sense. That's the defining factor about why a stolen sukkah is not a mitzvah haba ba'avera. After all, in the Yerushalmi, it says that a matzah shel teva, you have a matzah that was of untithed flour. We say that is a question if you could be yotze the mitzvah of fulfilling the mitzvah of eating matzah on Pesach, l'matzah gzula. And if there was a stolen matzah, we do hold, according to Yerushalmi, mitzvah haba ba'avera u'cheretiv nahatam. It says so in the Yerushalmi. We actually saw that Yerushalmi. It's the Yerushalmi and Shabbos, the same one that starts off about the tearing of the clothing. Here's the answer of the Ritva, different than Tosafot. Aval hanachon dehacha kaven delo kani la klal uvirshutei demare ita ve'ein hamitzvah motziata mirshut bailim lo chashiva mitzvah haba ba'avera. To say it in English, Shimon denied Ruvain use of his own sukkah. Ruvain had a nice sukkah, and Shimon came in with a machete, and he told Ruvain, get out of the sukkah. I'm going to sit here now. He didn't take it away from Ruvain. He's not saying I changed the sign of the door and it's my sukkah. He said, I'm just going to sit here and fulfill a mitzvah. The nacha is that he did not make a kinyan on this object. It's still in the reshut of the original owner, the mare, right? The owner, the original master. It's still there, the mare ita. Ve'ena mitzvah motziatam reshut. The act of mitzvah of Shimon sitting in Ruvain's sukkah, Shimon's not available now because he threw him out, but Shimon's still sitting there. He hasn't taken it away from Shimon. He's denied him access to his object, well, his structure. That's not a mitzvah b'avera. Hareu ki ilu haita sadeh de'alma gzula b'rshuto shava b'shavera b'yado ena sukkah nifsal b'gav. Doesn't negate the sukkah. It just denied the other guy access. And therefore, unlike a lulav, because only one guy could be holding it at a time. If I'm holding it, so the act of holding it and lifting it up is actually physically removing it from someone else's control. Here, I ejected him, but I never made a claim to ownership of the object. And ownership, unlike a lulav, where you need to own the object on day one, oraita lachem, day two and onward, you don't have the lachem factor. But again, there's a question here about is there mitzvah avera, and we say, there is, there isn't. When you talk about a sukkah, there's no such thing as mitzvah avera because you didn't actually take an object. The Ritva would have to admit, if the sukkah is on the back of a flatbed truck, okay, then you did take the object or you physically moved it away. It's on a ship, you did move it away, but that's not what happened here. Here you just denied the guy access to his own property for a period of time. So you want to be Mekayim the mitzvah. You haven't acquired, you didn't even claim that you were acquiring it. You did no action to imply that was the case because the general principle is karka ein nigzelet. Why isn't karka ever stolen? Because the deed is in the court, and unless you squatted for 3 years, it doesn't belong to anybody except for the original guy because he's standing there saying, "But it's mine, it's mine." You don't acquire it. You don't have to acquire it because according to Rabbanan, all the Jewish people could use the same sukkah in a sequential order. Yeah. So that's stealing the sukkah. But what if you steal the wood that goes inside the sukkah? Aval gazel eitzim sikech bahem ein lo ella demei eitzim. You just have to pay back the wood itself, right? So that's another situation because now you did physically take objects from someone else, but you just built them in. You made your object's not accessible anymore. If I want to give it back to you because I put it in the building. Perish v'afagav to me to write the psula the haleka eliyeush v'lokanya. If you stole the objects, that's puzzle because you took the actual objects and there was no kinyan yet. There's just yeush. There's no kinyan. You haven't built it in yet. V'atorah amra ta'aseh lecha mishelcha. Even though really with regard to the sukkah, it does use the word lecha also. Look back on 27b. You can see it right there. Even the Rabbanan agree that it says lecha in the pasuk. You should make for yourself a sukkah. Sounds like mishelcha. Okay, but here's what happened. The Chachamim put a fly in the ointment. Hash the takun Rabbanan begoza marish ubna'o bebira de kanile. Since the Chachamim made a takana, the takana is that when you steal and you put it, that's the marish. You stole the main principal beam and you built it into the palace. So now you were kona it in that way. Now all you have to do is pay the money back to the owners. Not biblically, but rabbinically, because of this takana, we say that the fact you built it in, it's not that you changed the object, you just stuck it in. Yeah, it's in the structure. You technically could unravel it. It's not that you painted it and you bore holes in it or cut into pieces. It's that you or pared it or shaved it. You just put it in. So the object is still there. You didn't actually do an act of kinyan. Putting it inside the building is the kinyan? Not really, because you haven't changed the object. You just changed its location and you made it inaccessible. But now that the Chachamim made a takana that once it's built into a building, we don't make the thief give it back. So that becomes the kinyan, at least derabanan. Now the eitzim now belong to the thief, and now they belong to him derabanan. They don't have elachov d'meim shechayev l'bayim. That's he has to pay. V'ariu kechov de'alma. He owes him like he owes a fine. Umishelcha karina blei. Then it really does belong to him, right? You know why? Daha kaninu mikmei mitzvah. Because when the guy built his sukkah, you can't build a sukkah on Sukkot, on the Yom Tiv, not to build. When did he build it? Built it before Sukkot, on Erev Sukkot. So now he was kona it completely before Sukkot started. Let me just say this outside. This is an astounding idea, right? Right, you're not allowed to steal the objects you're going to use to build a sukkah. But the Rabbanan, because there's this special rule that the Chachamim made, and the Chachamim said, once you built it into a building, we don't want to make it so hard people do tshuva, so we won't force the guy to give back the beam. We'll just tell him to pay the money. Because of that rule, that actually means that from a rabbinic perspective, it supersedes, oddly enough, the biblical requirement that it shouldn't be stolen. It says, it actually belongs to this guy now. This thief, it's his. He has to pay the money. He's committed a crime. Yeah, it's a sin. It's terrible. But he's got a nice sukkah, and he gets to keep it. It's not mitzvah b'avera. You know why? Because the kinyan happened before Sukkot started, and this object now is his. Did I lose everyone, or you're sort of with me? Ish?
That's good.
Ish.
With
Okay.
you.
Okay, so now I don't have time to see more of this because we're fast running out of time. There's more there. We'll leave the Ritva. I'm skipping the Ritva from Daf Tet Amud Bet. It's a related idea. It has a sidebar with Chala. Skipping those pages. Skip. Okay. The Rambam. The Rambam writes, Shofar Hagazul Shetakabo Yatza. Why? She'ein HaMitzvah El B'Shmi HaKol. Because the mitzvah is hearing the sound of it. Afal Pishlo Nagabo, even though he didn't touch it. V'loig Biho Shemeya Yatza. Ve'ein B'Kol Din Gazel. You can't steal sound. Heard it? He heard it. He stole the
Horn.
The horn. Okay, it's true. He stole it. He shouldn't have done it. It's terrible. It's a sin. How is Hashem going to accept such a thing from a thief? That's on Hashem. But from a pure technical standpoint, since you can't steal a sound, the stolen shofar, if you blew a shofar, that's not a mitzvah b'avera. It's just not. The Ravid points out, Amar Avram, even if you wanted to claim there was a din gezel, yom trua yet lachem. Remember, like lachem. If you wanted to make such a claim, mikol makom hachi itav Yerushalmi. He says, I have to admit that these words are actually the Rambam just quoting it from the Talmud Yerushalmi. You can't steal a sound. Therefore, the Rambam paskins no mitzvah b'avera with a shofar hagazul. You'll tell me the shofar is for ritzui. Remember, Tosafot for ritzui. So maybe they would hold for ritzui the object itself is tainted and you can't do anything with it. The Rambam says, yeah, I have the Yerushalmi. We paskin this way. You can't steal a sound. That's Hilchot Shofar.
So even if it's not just everyone else could be Yotze, but the blower is Yotze too?
Yep, because it's Lishmoa Kol Shofar, not Litkoa. We paskin in the end, Lishmoa, not Litkoa. Not the act of the blowing, it's the hearing. He's also hearing.
Okay. But I would think on a totally separate front, if someone were to steal Pach Shemen and light their menorah, that would be a mitzvah baba avera, right?
If the act of lighting it at the exact moment you made the bracha and you lit it, yeah, that's mitzvah. Great example. That's mitzvah baba avera. You took the oil from someone, you put it in, and now your moment of making the bracha is you're lighting it up, means you're transforming it. It seems to me that's mitzvah baba avera.
Yeah,
good case. But if you got it before Yontif, you stole it from someone, And I'm trying to think how you could make some other kind of a shinui. And someone bought it off you. To that person, they could use it. That's not mitzvah b'avera. You're kohen before the holiday started, before the time of the mitzvah. If you could do something to it to show that you're acquiring it before, then it's totally yours. Even though you did a terrible thing in stealing it, you shoplifted it, that's terrible. And it's egregious, you're held to account by Hashem. But can you use it for your hadlaka nerot? If the act of mitzvah came not at the instant of the kinyan, but after the kinyan took place, then yes, you can be Mekayim. Let's see another example. Our example, Sukka. Says the Rambam, Sukka she'ula kshera, v'chein hagzula kshera. Even a stolen Sukkah is okay. Why? Not okay, but you can be yotze. Ketza, im takaf al chaver v'hotzio misukato. If he forced his friend out, the gazla, he stole it v'yashav ba, now he's sitting in it. Yatza, why shein karkan igzel it? V'im gazal eitzim v'asame hen sukkah. Yatza, you're still yotze. Same thing. We saw already. Why? Because he took it and he built it in. Takana chachamim he she'ein lebal ha'etzim ela demei eitzim bilvad. It's all he has to pay back. Va'afilu gazal nisarn ve'nichan v'lo chibran. Even if you stole them, you placed them as the slats on top of your sukkah. You didn't even attach them. V'lo shin behen klum. You didn't even change anything with them. Still, you're yotze. That's also permitted. We saw that already previously. So these are cases where the Rambam is saying there's no mitzvah of avera in these particular cases. Then you have here Hilchot Lulav. Kol elu she'amarnu she'em psulin mipnei mumin shebiyarna o mipnei gazel ugneva b'yom rishon bilvad b'yom tov rishon bilvad ava b'yom tov sheni im sha'ar hayamim hakol kasher. He says it's all permitted, even stolen. He seems not to hold a mitzvah b'avera. Va'paslanut shehi mishum avodah zara. He goes on to talk about that, which we didn't get to the sugya yet. We have to get to that later. Ravid takes the Rambam to task. Amar Avram eina kol modim begazel v'yavish she'ein psulin mishum hadar. Right? If it's stolen, not everyone agrees to that. Ella gazel havale mitzvah haba b'avera. Ravid disagrees with the Rambam. The Rambam, however, seems to hold, like Shmuel, that on days 2 through 7 there's no mitzvah b'avera, and on the first day it's not mitzvah b'avera. It's just a lachem problem. The Ravid said, I disagree. I don't think that's true. Really, there is such a thing as mitzvah b'avera. It's written right here. It's based on the Gemara. So to try to resolve this problem, came along Rav Asher Weiss Shlita and Yerushalayim HaKodesh. Ronnie, thank you that you made me say a bli neder. I don't want to go over time though, so I'll leave this for homework. Pages 11 and 12 is the Minchat Asher, starting here. We have to figure out, in some places the Rambam writes there is such thing as mitzvah b'avera. Some places he writes there's no such thing as mitzvah b'avera. So to understand the Rambam, we have to read pages 11 and 12. We'll have to start with it next week because I'm totally out of time and I got to keep you in suspense so you come back next week.
Can you send it to us?
Of the whole sugya. I sent it. I emailed it to you tonight.
You did?
Yeah, 2 hours, 3 hours ago, 2 hours ago, before the share.
With an attachment on the bottom.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, glad to be of service. Okay. So that's it. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing. A lot to do.